and welcome to my first in a series of interviews with various different of my students, of interesting people that I know. I'm going to be doing weekly interviews with various different people and just give you some information about my company Divine Empowerment, all the magic that we do there, and other interesting people who you may also be interested in a spiritual background, maybe some tarot readers, astrology, all sorts of interesting things. We've got some crystal people lined up soon too. So firstly, we're going to start to work and talk to Els Pieterse. I can't even pronounce your surname. Tell me your surname, Els. I'm so sorry.
Pieterse.
Pieterse.
A Dutch name, yeah.
She's Dutch and I'm terrible at foreign languages. I'm great at magic, bad at languages, but hey ho. So Els is a long-term friend and student. And she's also has an interesting, slightly different situation from most of the students in so that she's actually medically trained. She was a doctor for many years and she's gone through the formal training of that. She's going to tell us a bit about her story, and she's also a Divine Empowerment student and practitioner, and she's also does occupational medicine these days as well. So she's had a whole journey through all different sides of different healing modalities and medicines to now where she is, which is, now she has a huge amount of knowledge and she's merging different modalities to really be quite superb at healing. So Els, tell us a bit about your story then.
Well, I'm educated as a doctor, and so I did this study, and I didn't know quite what to do with it. So I worked in a hospital, and I found out that it was always about symptoms, a diagnosis, and then we have the cure, and it's medicine. And so I was always prescribing the recipes, and I saw people going from the hospital back home looking very terrible, lots of medicines, and what they really had wasn't diagnosed. And I always felt uncomfortable with that, and I was always looking for, well, how come this person has this disease, and how come it doesn't get better?
Well, a diagnosis is just like we've grouped these symptoms together, and this is what we're calling that set of symptoms. That's what intrinsically a diagnosis is. It doesn't actually even attempt to find out why the heck you've got it. So, I mean, my view on modern medicine is that a lot of it is really designed to mask the symptoms. So you have whatever it is going on with you, and instead of necessarily finding out why that's gone wrong and how to really get rid of it on a permanent scale, they just mask it. And then unfortunately you end up with all these different side effects potentially from the medicine, or you have secondary illnesses. In my experience, diseases are like neon signs. And they're telling you that you're emotionally blocked in some capacity in your life. And if you've ignored that one, you get another neon sign, boom, 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 boom. And when we go through our textbook, which we use a lot, called Metaphysical Anatomy, and it tells you the emotional why behind diseases, they're all the same. So, you might manage to mask that and not have, the problems to such an extent, or they don't get any better sometimes, and then you just have to keep upping the medication. But all it's doing is relaxing one thing whilst putting more stress somewhere else. So you're not necessarily noticing that something else is happening. So Western medicine never seeks to cure, it seeks to cover. So what we do is really seek to find the emotional reasons behind things, because all diseases are stagnated emotions. All they are. So I've got this theory on this in case people are unfamiliar with my work, which is diseases come in three categories: a gas, a liquid, and a solid. And a gas-based disease is a thought-based disease. A liquid-based disease is something like a chronic pain, something like fibromyalgia, something like a cyst is a ball of fluid, or we've got solid-based diseases, which is something like a cancer. So what's the difference? How do you go from a gas to a liquid to a solid? If you have a finite space and you put enough gas in there, eventually the molecules will slow down, they will condense, they will get thicker, and it becomes a liquid. And then it becomes a solid, more and more pressure because you keep putting more and more gas in. And the gas is the thoughts. So when you hang around somebody who's upset or angry, you spend 2 seconds with them and you can feel it immediately. You walk into a room after an argument, or you can cut the air with a knife, you can feel it. So thoughts are gases, and it's just condensed gases. And we've all had some great successes by dissolving some diseases with this method. Okay, so just to give people a bit of a background on that. So go on, Els, tell me more.
So I was looking for what Antonia just was telling. I knew something was different, and I didn't know how, and I thought I wasn't matching really being a doctor. So I went this long road, and I choose to be an occupational health doctor because there you have 1 hour to talk to a person. So there I could go more in the depth, and I could advise them and think with them. But there was more. I studied medicine to help people. That's I'm a yeah, I want to cure people. That's inside of me. And also with doing the energy work, I want to cure them, but they have to cure themselves. I can help them by running the energy. So this was was one of my lessons quite recently. And so now for me, it's like being a doctor, being able to do this thinking and having these energies within me. I really feel I can really help people to cure themselves. And what Antonia just was telling about the gas, liquid, solid, I recognize that a lot, and I feel like we're going to do lot of good things with that. So for me now, being the doctor, and it's sort of handicap being a doctor because they don't believe, oh, you are a doctor, how can you do energy work? Doesn't go together. But yeah, there I am, always searching for, and now I found it. So now I will be the healer. And oh yeah, by the way, I'm also a doctor. I studied the
It gives you credentials. It makes people trust you because you've got all. I mean, it takes many years. It's not easy becoming a doctor for sure, and most of them. It's a noble profession, and they've gone into it. Most people wanting to genuinely help people, but I just think they've been, you know, missold what really diseases are,
yeah.
unfortunately. But I think it's a fantastic mix, and I'm sure that I'm going to be trotting you out on stage forevermore. When someone goes, what the hell are you talking about, there's no medical background, I'll be like, else off you go, trot you out on stage, and then they can go, well, if a doctor thinks so, then it must be true. Unfortunately, we are in a society where diplomas and things like that, studying matters, and it is a voice of authority as someone who's a doctor.
Yeah.
So it is, I think it's very useful, and you've got the diagnostic side. I'm not allowed to diagnose anybody because I'm not a doctor. So so it's very useful for you to have both sides of the coin.
Yes, but you have to be very careful because they cut your head off, and so I have to balance that very very carefully, and I can do that because when I first started with the divine empowerment, I was insecure. What can I do? This is magic, can't be true. Um, you know, I feel I have the energies and they do run, and it does work. And then you start thinking, can't be true. But now I'm level 10. We have 10 levels, and now I feel like I can do it. I can.
It sounds too good to be true. That we are almost a victim of that because it just sounds. How is it that you're dissolving traumas? Because, but like with in level one, we start dissolving traumas, and then the traumas aren't there, and you're looking around for them. They're just simply not there. But it just there's so much snake oil in the world. It sounds preposterous, actually, what we're doing. The number of times I've worked on people, and I'm sure you have, and diseases have literally fallen out of people fairly instantaneously. It sounds bonkers and it sounds fictitious. And even when you do it to people, I worked on a friend of mine a while ago who had chronic backache, and he'd had it for, 15 years, and it was gone in 10 minutes. I read my text, but I dissolved the resonance with the emotions in my textbook, and it was gone. And it's still gone. And that was 4 months ago, something like that, 4 or 5 months ago, and it's gone. And his reaction was, wow, that's spooky. And and he's still baffled by it, and it doesn't really and it sounds ridiculous, being in chronic pain every day for 15 years. And then he was just helping me. He was just, well, my friend's over helping me, so I thought I'd help him out. And it was a 10-minute conversation, and I don't think he's recovered. Because it was just so crazy for him. It sounds ridiculous, but yet that is common and normal.
I had to go through a process by
Hmm.
following the course and having you have 2 days on Zoom, and you have nice 2 days, and things happen, and then you go like, oh yeah, and then it goes away, and then you have this doubt. But now level 10, I don't doubt anymore. I can do it, and it's integrated, and it's part of my being now. And it's
That's really important because I even forget I've got magic sometimes. It's just so different from everybody else's reality.
yeah. And nowadays, I just tell people, "Oh, I'm a healer. Yeah, I do energy work." And oh, wow, but you're a doctor? Yeah, yeah. So how come? Does it matter? And I come out, and they, when you have this confidence in you, they don't criticize you so more
Mm.
anymore. Oh,
I've gone the next stage. I'm saying I'm a wizard.
yeah,
I feel like I was calling myself a healer for a long time. I've now gone on to wizard. I am considering converting it to sorcerer because sorcerer, we have this whole thing about we think sorcerers are evil in some way. I think Hollywood has like made us think that they're evil in some way. However, a sorcerer is someone who uses source energy.
that sounds good. That sounds.
Mm. I may convert myself onto sorcerer. I don't know. I quite like wizard or sorcerer.
To call myself a wizard, now maybe I will do one day. I don't know. Being a healer now for me suits me, I think.
Yeah.
So there we are. Yeah.
So what story? You had a story you wanted to share.
Um, yeah. What I also wanted to tell the people is that it changed me as a person. It changed me professionally and personally. Nowadays, I can manage my emotions so well. I had some emotions in my life, experienced some traumas, whatever, who doesn't? And I worked on that. But nowadays, if things happen, I just, who cares? I'm balanced. And if it does make, sometimes I feel a little headache or I have some tension in on my shoulder. Okay, first I forget I'm a wizard or sorcerer, and then I run this energy. So in my life, I'm so much more balanced. And sometimes I walk on the street and people look at me and they say, "Hey, hello! Like, am I doing something? I don't know what." And it's I found that so makes me so happy being there. And thank you so much, Antonia, because every level we do a course with you, something happens within you and you don't know what, but you're processing something. So a little trauma or an event you didn't even think about, you start dreaming and it's out of your system. And after 10 level, we have 10 levels now, maybe 11 is coming, but my life is changed and I want to tell that to the people. It's not being it's a miracle being able to help others, but to be this balanced person nowadays, for me, I feel so happy.
Yeah, we're going to.
Overjoyed, because I don't know why, but people say to me, "You're always smiling, you always have a happy face." I didn't have that before. I can confess that. So I've changed. So it's two things that I want to express.
Yeah, we're going to call this how divine empowerment changed my life, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So you're just happier. I think what happens is your baseline becomes happier. So, and people are attracted to light because what we do is enlightenment is really about light cultivation. So what it is we how do you cultivate more light is by stopping leaking largely. So what we're doing is we're just making your whole system just stronger and without the triggers, because when you're triggered, what actually happens emotionally is your strands of DNA actually unravel and start leaking photons, which are particles of light. And that's when you get triggered, you're angry, you're upset, you're grief or whatever it might be. When there's a lot of emotion going on, your DNA literally unravels. There was a guy called Leonard Lewowski who's discovered this and has done this in test tubes. It's absolutely fascinating. David Wilcock alerted me to that. I'm a big fan of David. And then there's, but if you're happy and you're healed, then what happens is your DNA strands go the other direction, they tighten and they heal. So actually enlightenment, as far as I'm aware, is really about light cultivation. And the less triggered you become, you're not, you're not sweating the small stuff, you're not literally leaking light. And then you end up, cultivating more light, and then people are attracted to the light. And I think that's why possibly people are stopping you in the street, because you see somebody radiant. It's really interesting. The same happens with celebrities, but in a different way. Some celebrities are absolutely amazing and really awake and enlightened, but many of them are not, as we well know. And the ones who aren't, interestingly, look exceptionally radiant. I've spent some time with some very high profile people, and my goodness, they're glowing. They just look like they are absolutely just completely, they look angelic. They look incredible, but often they are pretty angry, vacuous, damaged people. But what's happening is people are looking at them, watching their movies, seeing them on TV or whatever it might be. And they're looking at them and they're projecting light to them. They're projecting love towards them. So you're watching whoever it is and you are just sitting there in adoration. That's love, and that's going towards them. And so they're reflecting that back. And what's going on within their core may well not be that, but because they've got so much adoration projected onto them, they do look radiant. So, but that's not the right way of doing it, because that can be short-lived. I think one of the reasons that people, who fall out of fame suddenly end up doing quite crazy things where they are then on the front page of the newspapers is because they need that energy that's supporting their life force in some way. But they do look radiant, and I always find that quite an interesting thing. And I think the person who's most enlightened should probably be the one who's leading the world in some way, because I think they're making the decisions from the most balanced, calm place and the best for everybody, as opposed to, very egocentric people who are very agenda driven about what suits them, and the whole thing about absolute power corrupting absolutely, as opposed to someone who's very enlightened, who will actually be trying to help in every way that they possibly can. But yeah, so light cultivation.
I'm saying it because I want to be on that stage and want to be admired, but it's I notice it and it makes me happy, and the people are happy, and that's what's about. I don't want that stage and want to be admired, but it's
Well, I don't think anyone should be. I do think that is bad for people to, you literally have sycophantic people just sitting there and just going, oh my goodness. Like, I think everyone needs to pull their bootstraps up, and everybody just needs to get involved and awaken their own system and do the work, and then become happier versions of themselves, rather than sitting there passively and waiting to be spoon fed. We all need to get to work. The planet's in trouble. We're all in trouble as a race. There's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of bad behavior all around, and people need to start having principles and integrity and kindness and not being triggered. So unfortunately what happens is, when we get stressed and overwhelmed with different situations, we have little space or less space to think things through, to act calmly, to act morally, because you're stressed, you're in survival mode, and all you're trying to do is survive in a situation. But if you're not so stressed and you can think things clearly, then you can make better decisions for everyone, and not being triggered by every silly little action of somebody else is really liberation. It's freedom, because you're not being, your thoughts aren't attacking you, your actions aren't attacking you, and you're not attacking other people. That's liberation from the insignificant actions of others. And that's what, they teach us in Buddhism. They teach it in many different modalities. You shouldn't be reactionary. You should be calm all the time. Difficult. But it's definitely the work that we're doing is steps towards that.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say. Yeah.
So you had another story. Was there another story, or was that the story?
Well, I have stories. I have a lot of stories, but shall I tell one of my experience doing divine empowerment?
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's been a while, but I was a coach. There was one of the in a work situation, one of the team had died, and they didn't mourn. There was a session for grieving, and we honored the person that had died. So I was there to organize that. and it went very well. There were 8 people there, and well, it was a good thing happening there. But there was one lady, it's a lady of 55 years old, I know now, and she was doing like, huh, huh. And I said, "What's on your shoulder?" "Ah, nothing. It's always there." "Yeah, but what then?" "Yeah, that is this voice, and it's always telling me I'm ugly and that I'm not doing very well." And huh. I said, "Huh? What's that?" And I thought, that's an entity. And I was a professional, being officially a coach, not being a healer whatsoever. But I thought, I have to help this person, this lady. So I said, well, shall we do something off the record? And I could do some healing work. Shall we try it? Oh, yes. And everybody was okay with it. So I did divine empowerment. And my face expresses everything. I'm very mimical. I can't help that. So I was sitting there. Um, I don't know. I didn't see my face, but it must be something like that. And
You
then
are
an
interesting.
hour came by, and I was looking through my eyelashes. And then after 3 or 4 minutes, her expression was totally different. Her eyes looked different. The group was what happened just now, and this voice was gone. And she was, what's happened? She was 55 years old, and this voice was there from her 5 years old. 50
Wow.
years she had this entity with her. And then
Wow.
it was so quiet. So everybody was very impressed, and okay. Then she contacted me, and she said, "Oh, I don't know what to do, because I'm not so happy." And I thought, okay, I sent this entity away, but I can't get it back. No way to get it back. And she was, I don't know, nobody to talk to, nobody telling me I'm ugly. So she was very unhappy. And I thought, okay, what did I do? And then we talked, and in the end, she was happy, but she had to readjust totally. And she didn't contact me, and for now it's okay. So if you send an entity away, something happens, and people. I thought she's complaining because she
Yeah,
doesn't have this voice anymore. That was one of my experiences.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Some people don't always like it. I mean, I did one years ago, and the lady got very upset about it. She asked me to some similar situation. She had all these all these thoughts, which were just sort of telling her that she was gonna die alone, and she was never going to get married, and nobody loved her, no one would love her, and all this stuff. And I got rid of all of it for her. And then she wasn't. She said that she wasn't being herself. She goes, and I said, "What does that mean?" She goes, "Well, she wasn't being triggered, and so she wasn't so stressed because she didn't have this chatter in her mind telling her things." So she said it was a bizarre thing. She goes, "Someone brought up my grandmother, and I didn't burst into tears." And I went, "Excuse me?" And she goes, "Well," she goes, "Well, anyone who ever spoke about my grandmother, I burst into tears." And I said, has she passed? And she said, "Yes, like 5 years ago, my grandmother died." I said, "Well, it's not particularly healthy or ideal for you to be crying every time someone brings up your grandmother who's been gone 5 years. Isn't it better that you grieve them and, love them and everything else, but that you're not completely overwhelmed every time someone brings it up?" But she goes, "Yes, but it's not me." She didn't recognize herself. And then she was like, "I'm not myself, and I don't recognize who I am," because she wasn't crying all the time at things. And her co-workers were saying, "Oh my goodness, like, this is the new you, this is so fantastic, you're much more emotionally stable." And she didn't like it because she didn't recognize herself, and she wanted everything back. And we spoke it through, and then we didn't get it back. But then after a while, because there was more work to be done, we did one bit, but she needed to sustain these things, and there was quite a lot going on, and she really needs to fortify her energy system and make herself a lot stronger and do the courses. So it came back after 6 months or a year, and then she didn't like it anymore.
Oh, then.
But it did come back because you've got to do the work. I mean, I did a huge clear up, but unless there is a level of maintenance or just keeping your system strong, it won't necessarily, if you're not doing anything, it might necessarily last. I mean, it's pretty good and pretty permanent, but you have to,
Yeah,
yeah, we've got work to do. There's a lot of craziness going on in the
yeah,
world.
there's a lot of work to do. And also, for me being still working as an occupational health doctor, I speak to a lot of people. And so I had this young lady, 25 years age. She had this obsessive compulsory, how you call
Compulsive disorder.
it? Yeah. And she was in treatment for 3 months. And yeah, it helps. It helps a little bit, and all the attention she got a little bit better. And then I asked her, okay, shall we start working again? No, no, no. And well, how come you feel better? You had the treatment 3 months, 5 days a week, very, very intensive. And then I asked her, what did they do? Well, the only thing they did was teaching her if she has this compulsory thing that she had to do something to check on the door if it's closed or check on the gas or whatever, how to deal with that. Nobody talks about the fear underneath this disorder.
Right.
So I said to her, maybe I can do something for you. And I did the big razor. That's energy that we dissolve emotions. So I did it on fear. And then she said, oh, I feel much better. So 3 months intensive treatment, 5, 10 minutes at the most. Oh, I haven't felt like this in a long time. But being hired as a doctor, I can't do the healing work because I do it off record. So I have to be very careful. But really, it did help. 3 months of therapy, 5 minutes, DE, divine empowerment, great step. So that's what I'm seeing as well. And if I'm a professional sorcerer, I like sorcerer. Um, healer. Um, I can go really what I can do, but now I speak to a lot of people being a doctor and I can't do it. So I'm fighting that. But I'm nearly there, and I'm not being a professional doctor anymore, and I'll be the
Healer.
healer. Yeah, healer.
Wizard or
Wizard.
sorcerer. Any of the
Yeah.
above.
But I see a lot of people. Oh, I wish I could do this for this person or this energy, or so that's quite confusing because I am the healer. I want to help people. That's
Yeah.
inside of me. That's my mission in life, I think.
Your hands are tied somewhat, really, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. That's where I am now, but not for long anymore. Yeah. So
No, we need to get this work out there so
yeah,
everyone can realize how much easier it is because, we do dissolve traumas, we do dissolve diseases, things go away. And it is life changing regularly. But unfortunately, as we said, it sounds too good to be true, which is why we need to interview people who've had these experiences
yeah.
and people can learn what we're doing. I mean, all the courses are, if anyone's interested in DE, you can look at the website divineempowerment.com or .co.uk, you choose, as both. And there is a free healing. So all you need to do is just sign up and you get this free healing, which is worth £675. It's a video of me, and you just follow the steps and it will dissolve traumas just from following the steps in the video, a solo trauma event. So go do that and experience it for yourself and see how it works for you. And if you're interested, you can sign up for a course, or of course you can book in with one of our lovely practitioners, Els being one of them, or we've got lots of lovely ones, or me if you want me doing it, but they can do what I can do. I charge a lot more because I've got other things I'm doing. But yeah, one of my practitioners are all fantastic. So if you want traumas dissolved or potentially some illnesses, then you might want to be speaking to them too. Anything else you would like to add? Any more stories? Anything tidbits?
Um, no, I think this is what I wanted to tell. Um, I can advise everybody to, if you're doubting and it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true, and just try it and do it.
Well, the thing is, I do like that we have that free video on the website, and there is, it's 10 minutes. Your skin in the game is 10 minutes. Just go to the website and follow along this video. And, maybe it is utter rubbish and maybe it's not, but if it's worth 10 minutes of your time to find out if magic is real, and if you can dissolve a trauma, and if it's if a trauma feels significantly better from watching a video for 10 minutes, then I mean that is pretty profound and pretty amazing, and it works. You just have to be able to tune into the trauma, to think about the situation and grade it out of 10, 10 being severe, 0 being completely neutral. And then you just watch this video and it will dissolve the resonance, the emotions associated with it. So just follow along, see how you go. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's, it's 10 minutes of your life, but it works. It really works. And then, if you want to study or learn more, then obviously you can, but there is just this free thing. See if you like it, because this is the future of healing. This is where everything's going to be going. Medicine, it's not working. It's not working. It's not really, America is the most everyone's on what's the word? They're on the most pharmaceuticals out of everyone else in the world, and they are the sickest. Their cancer rates are 1 in 2. I mean, the UK is 1 in 3, but they're the worst. They are the sickest. Their death rates are getting even worse and worse. They are the sickest. I mean, their food is terrible, a lot of it, unfortunately, because they don't have these same laws as they do in Europe about what chemicals they can put in foods, and that's absolutely terrible. But the first thing that they do when someone's not feeling very well is just reach for medicine, and then the medicine, and they layer these medicines on top of one another, but no one's dealing with the emotional stuff. You need to let it go. I mean, the immortal words of Elsa, you need to let it go. You just have to be neutral about it. And that's what we can do. We neutralize the emotions behind diseases, or the emotions in general.
Yeah. And also what happens is, if somebody says, no, I have no emotions. Yeah, I'm a bit angry. You start running the energy on angry. And then another layer comes. And then we also have intuition or whatever, I don't know, but sometimes I just say, might it be so that you're also very afraid or whatever, and I don't know why, but it just happens, and then another part of an emotion not recognized comes up, and you feel that as
Exactly.
well.
Or sad or betrayed or rejected or something. There's always a reason behind anger. Anger's sort of one of the last emotions that you get to, but initially you feel like you're not valued, or you're rejected, or you've been betrayed, or you're jealous, or there's something behind it. Getting to anger's further along the road. It's something about you not feeling seen, or whatever it might be, for a long time before you've become really just sick of it, and then you just go into anger. And then depression, according to Chinese medicine, is the stage beyond that. It's repressed anger. So there will be a lot of a compoundedness of different situations that have happened to get you to the stage where you become angry. And so you have to then work it out. So the anger will be the superficial emotion, or the top emotion, and then it's going down the layers and layers and layers, which have that it took to get you to that angry stage, because there will be multiple layers to get you to actually have been angry.
But people who are angry, they don't know which layers are underneath, and you just start with your healing and the layers come. That's my experience.
You have to get it's like it's the on top, isn't it? So you pull that out the way, and then boom, this one shows up, this one shows up, this one shows up, this one shows up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's how it works.
It works, yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Els. This has been lovely. And yes, you are my first interview on my YouTube. So time I got organized with all of that eventually. I used to be a TV presenter. I should have done this years ago, but hey ho, I've been downloading magic. So now it's the time to get this work out there in a bigger way. So Els, thank you so much. Everyone comment below any questions that you have or anything you'd like to know more about divine empowerment, or anyone you'd like me to interview, or if you'd like to be interviewed by me, then please let me know. And once again, have a look at my website, divineempowerment.com, and watch that video. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.